you ever seen those crazy game mods that make weapons that are very weird? It's completely unrealistic, right? But what about sticky grenades and tanks that shoot off nuclear missiles? Today, we'll show you the weirdest but amazing military weapon. But first, subscribe to our channel and click on that bell. It'll do you good. This horned contraption terrified the Allies in World War II. The German Spring Mine 35 was the oddest and most fearsome mine in history. It would be buried in the ground, but as soon as an enemy soldier stepped on the mine, even in the slightest, it would jump up 1.5 meters in the air and go off. 360 steel bearings flung out at 1,000 meters per second would obliterate everything in a 100-meter radius. This operating principle gave the mine its nickname Frog Mine on the Eastern Front and Bouncing Betty on the Western Front. I think this is the real Crazy Frog. This is not a gigantic lollipop, it's a British No. 74 sticky bomb. It was ideally meant to be thrown at tanks, and it would stick to them and detonate, blowing a hole open in the tank's armor. However, for this to work, the tank had to be dry and clean. Epic fail. A sock covered with adhesive was placed over the grenade, and in that way, it could stick to the enemy's gear. But in order to hit the tank, soldiers had to walk up very close to it. This is the German ancestor of the drone. The Goliath was a self-propelled mine used in World War II. This mini tank was sent off on its way with the help of a control panel and 650 meters of cable. The mini tank was loaded with 100 kilograms of explosive. This kamikaze on tank treads would sneak up to an enemy tank and make a very powerful boom. Why not go for a ride on one? The M388 Davy Crockett. This was the smallest nuclear weapon in history. This miniature atomic bomb weighed just 56 kilograms, which is 80 times lighter than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. The M388 shell had a maximum flight distance of 4 kilometers. Within a radius of 500 meters was guaranteed to suffer the effects of radiation exposure. Due to the risk faced by the very soldiers deploying it, the M388 Davy Crockett was retired. The legendary German Panzerfaust was one of the most infamous grenade launchers used in World War II. It could effortlessly penetrate armor 200 millimeters thick. This was enough to blow a hole in the front of even the strongest Soviet tank, the IS-2. The Panzerfaust weighed just 7 kilograms and it had low recoil. Thus, even teenagers could use this grenade launcher. To effectively hit the opponent with the Panzerfaust, a soldier had to walk up to within 30 meters of the target. A second later, the shell would have left a gaping hole in the enemy tank. And look at this marvel. The German Sturmpistol was a compact bazooka that could be held in one hand, but still pierce through armor 80 millimeters thick. That's twice as thick as a T-34 tank's armor. It's like artillery that conveniently fits in your pocket. The M65 was the world's first atomic artillery piece, and the most powerful mobile cannon in American Army history. Nicknamed Atomic Annie, it used W9 shells with a length of 138 centimeters. These shells weighed 364 kilograms. The M65 could fire an atomic warhead a distance of 24 kilometers. As an M65 cannon weighed 42 tons, it was transported by 2 special trucks. 15 minutes after firing its round, the Atomic Annie could be moved to another location, making it hard for the enemy to detect. In spite of the name, the American Little David mortar was the world's largest. With a caliber of 914 millimeters, it still holds the record for the world's largest caliber artillery piece. Just one of these, with a barrel that was 7 meters long, weighed 36 tons. Just look at what the Little David shoots off. This gigantic shell is taller than a typical adolescent male. It weighs 1,678 kilograms, and half of that weight consists of explosives. Look at what hits. It is 4 meters deep and 12 meters across. However, no actual application in wartime was ever found for the Little David. To fire off a single round required a whole 12 hours of preparation. A weird and amazing military weapon, but not a very practical one. The Soviet atomic 2B1 Oka mine thrower was the first self-propelled atomic gun in history. Look at its enormous barrel, 20 meters long. That is twice the length of the carrier vehicle itself. The 2B1 Oka was intended to fire off atomic shells, each weighing 670 kilograms. The 2B1 Oka could launch an atomic shell a distance of 25 kilometers, and if a shell equipped with a reactive engine was used, the distance could reach 50 kilometers. The recoil when firing off a round was so powerful, the 55-ton carrier vehicle would roll a whole 5 meters back. Due to this brutal recoil, the 2B1 Oka never actually saw the battlefield. You're looking at a glider that was never destined to land safely. The Yokosuka MXY-7 Oka was a Japanese steered bomb operated by Kamikaze. Thanks to the 1,200 kilogram bomb in its nose, Y-7 Oka had no engine for takeoff and landing. It was brought up into the air by a bomber. The glider then detached and set a course for its target. The pilot activated a rocket engine and gained speed with the intent of ramming his target. The glider's speed reached as high as 1,100 kilometers per hour. But for comparison, the speed of a Boeing 777 is just 905 kilometers per hour. Sometimes a Yokosuka MXY-7 Oka glider would smash right through a ship, and only then would its explosives detonate. Our next weapon might rank among the world's most peculiar and offbeat. The Fu-Go was a balloon bomb from Japan, and the Japanese army used it to bomb the United States and Canada. In fact, for the first several months, the Americans had no idea what was going on, since their radars could not pick up hot air balloons. The Fu-Go balloon had a diameter of 10 meters. A bomb would be attached to the underside in the middle and ringed by several incendiary bombs as well. A special timer would cause the bombs to drop after an interval of 72 hours, time for the balloon to fly from Japan to North America. This was the world's first weapon that could be used intercontinentally. The Fu-Go was equipped with an autopilot. If the balloon exceeded an altitude of 11 kilometers, a sensor would bleed some hot air and cause the balloon to descend. When the Fu-Go had dropped below an altitude of 9 kilometers, a sensor would drop a sandbag to force the balloon to ascend to the needed altitude. After dropping its cargo of bombs, the balloon would self-destruct. During the war, the Japanese dropped around 9,300 such balloons. During World War II, the people of New Zealand feared a Japanese invasion. The New Zealand Army didn't have enough tanks, and so they put 12mm thick armor on American Caterpillar D8 tractors. This armor was enough to protect the vehicles from small arms fire. The makeshift tank was equipped with 6 machine guns that could completely sweep the surrounding area. The Bob Semple tank turned out to be quite tall at 3.6 meters, which was 1 meter taller than a standard military tank. Due to all the armoring, the tractor's weight soared from 15 tons to 25 tons. Unfortunately, this wonder of design was never used in actuality, and it was converted back into a tractor without ever seeing combat. The Well bike was World War II's smallest motorcycle. It didn't shoot anything, but maybe it put the enemy into a laughing fit. The Well bike weighed 32 kilograms. It could be dropped from a plane along with a group of paratroopers. Making the motorcycle ready for action took just 11 seconds. The Well bike could reach speeds of 50 kilometers per hour, and the gas in the tank was enough to cover 140 kilometers of road. Those are impressive numbers for such a tiny little thing. However, the small 30-centimeter wheels did not allow this motorcycle to go off-road. Don't worry, nothing happened to this submachine gun. It simply had a German Krumlauf attachment placed over it. In this clever way, a STG-44 rifle could be transformed into an odd but remarkable weapon that could now shoot around corners. The Krumlauf was attached to the muzzle of the weapon so that the bullet's course through the barrel would bend. This made it possible for a soldier to fire around a corner or from a trench without sticking his head out. To aim, the soldier could peer through a special periscope sight. The idea of a gun with a curved barrel has been taken up by a number of countries ever since. In Israel, the corner shot accessory was invented, which allows one to fire around a corner and aim with the aid of a digital camera. And that's all for today. Hope you liked the video.